Hey everybody, Christopher Green, AMTV. A massive wealth transfer is currently occurring worldwide, not just in the United States, but all over the world as financial assets shift, not just into different places like cryptocurrency and blockchain, but we're seeing this in real estate, land prices, commodity prices, as central banks discuss. And we just had Jerome Powell yesterday talk about what he says is going to be transitory inflation, but if things get out of control, they will raise interest rates soon, potentially by 2023. Now, what we're seeing on the ground is quite different than what the American people are seeing or what Wall Street is seeing from their perspective. There's a great article that just came out, not really so great, from CBS News, suggesting that with the moratorium on rents and housing ending as a result of all these health events, more than 8 million households, this includes multiple people per house, are now facing homelessness, foreclosure, as they are evicted out of their primary residences.
Well, tonight, families in several states don't know where they are going to sleep. Evictions are slowly returning as states challenge the moratorium imposed during the pandemic. The trickle of evictions could soon become a flood as renters owe up to $53 billion to landlords. Here's CBS's Omar Villafranca.
A wave of evictions despite a federal ban. Today in Dallas, Anthony Upshaw and his 17-year-old son are being put out of their home.
They're gonna show up and kick me out. My kid up there doing his schoolwork. There's like 3 weeks of school left before the kids graduate.
The Texas Supreme Court lifted the moratorium on evictions March 31st. The Dallas-Fort Worth area has the third most eviction filings in the country.
We're gonna put everybody out the first chance they got.
Upshaw lost his job early in the pandemic and has been struggling since. Constables placed his belongings in the front yard.
Of course, there's been unprecedented job losses as a result, not just to mention wealth inequalities that have recently occurred in the last few years. CBS News reports, even as the nation rebounds from the health event, more than 2 million homeowners are behind on their mortgages. This has been subsidized by the federal government and taxpayer funds and risk being forced out of their homes in a matter of weeks, according to a new Harvard University housing report. Warning of this, most of the homeowners at risk of foreclosure are either low income or families of color, said researchers who published the 2021 State of the Nation's Housing Report. So disproportionately affecting wage workers, people in service-based jobs. Restaurants have been closed. Many service-based jobs have now gone extinct, aren't coming back. Of course, I did a major report earlier this morning on a massive internet-wide blackout, Australian banks going down, much of the financial app infrastructure going down as a result, they say, of a Cloudflare-related network, a competitor called Akamai failing, many people not able to use banking services out in Australia. We've seen this with major airlines reported recently. Follow me on Twitter with Southwest, American Airlines. This came a day after Southwest Airlines canceled almost 300 flights and delayed 562 over a computer reservation issue. So we had the cyber hack event. We had Colonial Pipeline. We saw what happened in Texas just a couple of months ago during the winter with the grid failure. Now we're seeing grid failures in the summer. And now, disproportionately, families that are struggling, that have been living off subsidies. We had all the PPP loans roll out. We had trillions of dollars worth of debt printed by Barack Obama and also Joe Biden continuing that at the central bank. And now inflation pressure and fears at the same time, grossly disproportionately, American families are suffering. Now, I introed this video with the wealth transfer. Of course, we're seeing an epic wealth transfer. There's like 1/4 of all US dollars ever minted into circulation came out within the last year. So this has made many wealthy people flush with cash. I've said there's an old saying, there's a new saying actually, that says you either own 3 homes or you have 3 jobs. This is creating more pressure, and we're seeing the wealthy buy homes at enormous inflated prices. We're seeing them acquire land, valuable resources. We're seeing a lot of diversification with sovereign risk, assets moving worldwide. We saw this in Hong Kong, notably, with China repositioning over there and a lot of that money free flowing into more free capitalistic-like nations like Singapore. So at a time of global escalating tensions, money transfers, wealth inequality, I think this is what I think is going to happen next. We're going to get a bigger bubble. And I'm expecting, as I've been talking about over the last year or two, we're going to get a hyper bubble, a roaring 2020s that's going to continue to transfer assets into this new system.
All this talk of a modern God or no God. There is one God, the God of the Israelites. And he is a stern and vengeful God. And we have been mocking him far too long. And now he demands retribution in blood. It is time to declare yourselves. Take sides, the saved and the damned. Read the good book. It calls for expiation, blood.
For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many.